What's that? But yeah, that was my first kind of shock.
So you got here about 12. You were about 12 years
yeah.
old, and then you went to middle school at Crittenden,
Yeah.
and then Mountain View High School. So why don't you
Yes.
talk about your classes at Mountain View and sort of what your interests were?
You know, I was really one of those kids that never left high school. There were some people here that actually drove me. I see, is that Ashley Whipple over there? Hi, Ashley. Ashley Townsend. Ashley Townsend. So she used to drive me. I didn't drive in high school, but I was doing so many things that kids would drive me around all the time. Like Ashley, students would drive me around all the time. I was just kind of one of those kids that I don't know, like and this is probably why I should tell you this. Like, the only reason why, I said yes to this is because this community has given so much to me. I don't want to embarrass the Whipples, but, there were some times when you had to pay for, like, field trips, like, in choir, and I couldn't quite afford to pay for them, and I realized later on that some families, like the Whipples, actually took care of some stuff, not just for me, but even for some other students who can't take care of paying for some stuff. So the only reason why I love, this is a great opportunity is to be able to thank people, little things like that matter, even 10, 20 years from now.
Now, was it in high school where your interest in journalism was sparked,
Yeah.
or was it were you that interested in journalism per se, or was it something else?
Mrs. Dewar, I had an English teacher in sophomore year, and I wasn't really a good writer. English is not my first language, and so I overwrote, I almost overcompensated, and I was one of those people who used too many adjectives. I overwrote, I didn't really understand what a semicolon was, I thought it was a mistake. Like a period and a comma all together. What is that? But Mrs. Dewar thought that I should be a journalist, and she sent me to a minority journalism camp at San Francisco State. This was right after sophomore year. And I remember it was 20 kids, minority kids, I hate that word, but minority kids, were sent to this camp, and we had 2 weeks, and we had to write stories. And the story that I wrote was a billionaire named Ron Unz. I don't know if anybody can remember him. Ron Unz, he was the backer of a proposition called 227, which basically ended bilingual education. He thought that kids should just speak English, that there shouldn't be bilingual education. And I was so intrigued by that. Like, why would this guy, who doesn't even, speak like Tagalog or Spanish, like why does he think we should all just speak English? What if we can't, right? And the fact that I could get him on the phone and ask him really uncomfortable questions for 30 minutes was like, wow, you're getting paid to be nosy, That sounds really interesting. So after that internship, after that 2-week camp, I got back. That was 1998. I remember calling the editor of the Mountain View Voice, because we got that paper. We didn't get the Los Altos Town Crier when I was in my area. We got the Mountain View Voice. And I just remember picking it up and seeing the name of the editor, Rufus Jeffress. And I just called him up and said, hey, do you need an intern or whatever? And then he said, yeah, you could answer the phones and buy me coffee or something like that. So I remember showing up the first day in Hawaiian shorts or something and a t-shirt. And then, so I was answering the phones, and then one day there was a fire on my street, on Farley Street. So Rufus sent me to cover the fire. And then I took the bike and I went to the fire and I covered it and I wrote about it, and that was my name, and that's kind of how it started. It was so funny, by the way. My journalism career was started because of a fire in my street.
Now, did you then